So hello fellow Earthlings, this is Earthling 6455463728, and I love Ginnifer Goodwin's interview with Whitney Cummings. I really like the fact that they have been friends for so long. It's an interesting dynamic that it is three of them, her and Dory and Ginnifer. Whitney, Dory, Ginnifer. These are three names that are thrown around there as people who are like three mutual best friends. And I like how she talks about meeting her husband on the set of Once Upon a Time, I believe. And it's crazy, honestly, the way that it's funny, and it's crazy because it's funny how Whitney Cummings was saying to Ginnifer that it's funny how they were pretending that they weren't going to end up with each other. And it's also interesting, if that's the other word that I used, with the idea that Ginnifer at the time, I'm saying Ginnifer, it's Ginnifer, and for some reason she's nicknamed Ginnifer. She was engaged to be married, and her husband was actually married at the time when they met each other on the set. And I think what she said was, when she met him, the first thing that she was thinking was that, oh, it's possible to be in love and in lust with someone at the same time. And she was like, now I know that that is something that's possible. I guess it isn't something that she had in her life prior to that. And she said she told her mother about the situation, and her mother was like, listen, it's hard to give up on an engagement or to cancel a wedding, but it's not that hard. So she went and she canceled the wedding. And I suppose to be a good person to her current husband's ex-wife, she didn't plan on doing anything about it. And also, I guess, to her ex-fiance as well, again, it would seem so kind of cruel, I suppose, to just drop this person and then get up with another person. So I really hope that they live forever. The relationship lasts forever. But she really seems so genuinely happy and genuinely satisfied with her life, as in walking away from acting so much or trying to act so much. And she said, a couple of things in, like, when she had her kids. After she had her kids, she was saying, this is what I was meant to do. I was meant to raise my kids and make sure that they're happy. And she's like, my life is first. My life and my kids are first. And my job gives me the money to enjoy my life. And that's how it is. When she comes to a set, she makes sure she comes prepared. And when it's time to go, it's time to go. As she was saying, it's not like a summer camp. It's not like they're going to stay there late up into the night singing songs together and becoming friends and stuff like that. No. Her real life, her kids, her family, her husband, that is the real life. And I wonder if that is something that she would have learned on the set of Once Upon a Time, because that was an idea that I read about in terms of that show, that there was a real life where the characters were actually magical creatures, and then there was the fake life that was put upon them where they were just ordinary people. I've never seen the show that I know of, but I find that concept to be interesting, that all of these magical creatures had a spell cast on them that made them think that they were normal. And I don't know that necessarily, acting on that show or just acting in general had that much to do with the way that she says that she sees life. But it seems interesting that those two things exist at the same time in one human being's life. And just the way that, like I said, she talked about, well, the way that she met her husband and eventually decided that hey, now that I know that being in love and lust can exist at the same time, this is something that I want to try to find in my life. I'm going to give up on this engagement and try to find this again, maybe in a less troublesome setting. Of course, once her husband, I think his name is Josh Dallas, once he divorced his wife, I guess all of these things started. And, I suppose when he hears that this person that he really likes has canceled their engagement, then I suppose it's just a matter of time, as long as he's on the show playing against this other person that, they are Cinderella and the prince, and there's a whole environment. I guess that got him thinking as well that he should end his marriage. And the whole idea of the two of them, and it's so funny because Whitney Cummings knows the guy, and she's like, he is the male me. He's like the male version of me. That's what you went and you found. And by the way that Whitney Cummings and Ginnifer Goodwin were talking, like, oh, he's not really that good looking. And then Jennifer laughs. You realize, okay, that's why she's in lust with him, because he's clearly a good looking guy facially and maybe physically as well. So there's that. And what I really, really, really liked, and I like in this modern era that we live in, is how Ginnifer Goodwin was able to talk about those things in her pregnancy that people hide, that you never hear about. She was saying that she had to wear a diaper for a while after she was pregnant. She was saying that even though she knew her husband loved her, she felt that this whole idea of being incontinent was not something that she could freely talk about to her gynecologist and find a solution for just after she gave birth. So she said she was in the toilet and she was whispering to the gynecologist that she would get up from somewhere and the seat would be wet, and she would have had no idea or inkling that had happened. And the gynecologist is like, yeah. And she's like, I don't think you understand. This is a really serious problem. And she's like, the gynecologist was like, yeah. And from that, she understood and she came to realize that these are the things that nobody tells you. Or at least, maybe it doesn't happen to everybody, but at the same time, you never hear about it. It's not like it happens to some people, and some of these people say, well, that happened to me. No, it happens to, well, it might happen to a lot of people, but nobody talks about it. And there's this other YouTuber who he and his wife were trying to get pregnant, and they were going through vlogging about it. And she was saying that one of the things that you apparently get when you're pregnant is a lot of yeast infections. And she had never known that this was a thing, again, that apparently people don't talk about it. But when she went looking, doing her research in that, trying to get pregnant, she realized, whoa, this is pretty common. And one of her friends was saying that she got yeast infection after yeast infection, as soon as one was cleared up, she would get another one, and then another one, and another one. As fast as she fixed it, she would end up having another one. And that was apparently a thing that happens to you when you're pregnant. And Ginnifer Goodwin was also saying how, nobody tells you, or there's no information where people have said that, listen, you have to learn to love your saggy belly. That's never going to go back to the way that it was before you had kids. No matter how many crunches you do, no matter how much dieting you do or anything, you just have to get used to that idea. And I thought that was so interesting, that that she would mention that. And it's true, women feel insecure about the fact that their stomachs don't go back to the way that they were used to. I noticed somebody that I knew, they seem to be really, really concerned about that showing. The fact that people could see that they had this excess skin on their belly. And as a matter of fact, that's how I know whether or not somebody has been pregnant before. As soon as I see, their stomach looks different. It's not like brand new skin. It looks like, okay, there's a little bit of stretching has gone on here. Even if their belly is completely flat, I'm like, you've been pregnant. You've been pregnant. You have never been pregnant. And I might be wrong about that. Apparently there's some people who don't get stretch marks, but I presume that even if you don't get stretch marks, your stomach is not going to look quite the same as it used to look, right? And people have asked me when I said, hey, you've been pregnant, they've been like, how do you know? And on occasion I haven't wanted to say. But anyway, I love the episode with Ginnifer Goodwin on Ginnifer. And I thought it was really interesting, and I like the things that she and Whitney talked about. I like the fact that they've been friends for so long, and the fact that they were talking about an instance where Ginnifer was telling Whitney, you need to be a better friend. And the arc of how Whitney has evolved over time is really cool to hear from Ginnifer and from Whitney at the same time. So anyway, hope you guys take that in, enjoy it maybe. Bye.